Hey, this is Bradford Elliott with Nova Tree Care out in Indianapolis, and I'm going to share a number of tricks around throw lines. Some of it is going to be for beginners, some of it is for more complex, more advanced people, and there's actually a tip that thus far I have not seen out on the internet. It's very possible someone has already done it, but I've got one trick that's especially for people who don't have as much money, who are just getting started. So I'm excited to share that tip with you. But this video is going to be all things throw line. So you might know some of it. Hopefully you get something new out of it though. So the first thing that I just wanted to start off with is if you can't afford a $100, $150 throw cube, I don't know what they're going for these days. I know there's like $50 options. I know there's more bougie ones. Just buy a pop-up hamper. Like this was literally free, and I started using it in 2020. So I've been literally using it for 5 years. Just majorly upgraded and bought a $20 one that has a zipper top. So super fancy, but I have gotten by just fine using hampers. So if you don't have a lot of money and you don't want to buy a throw cube, that's just my first little tip. Second little tip. A lot of guys I know want to just tie an anchor knot onto their throw bag every time. It's way faster if you don't already do this. Most guys do, but if you don't already do this, tie a girth hitch, tie a bowline at the end of your throw line, and then just girth hitch it on. So that means like feeding it through the ring, the loop over this guy, and then cinching, pulling it tight. So keep a bowline on the end of your throw line if you don't already. Most guys do, and that'll speed things up for you. Now for a technique that I have seen all over the internet. This is one of the most popular things for people to show, but I need to show it so that I can get to the other cheaper option. So double bagging is a concept that was developed to keep throw bags from getting stuck when people are getting access into the tree. Everyone who has climbed and ever thrown a throw line know what it's like to get a bag stuck. So double bagging is the solution by which once you've already lowered a throw bag, you just attach a second line to it. Now what I have here is not what most people do. Most people have their second line attached to a micro carabiner, and they would just clip that micro carabiner on so that there's not this like extra loop that could get caught on something. But for right now, I'm just tying this knot on, but this is not what most guys do. So if you have this second line on, the nice thing is, right, like let's say that I'm pulling it up and it gets stuck right here. I go over to my second line and I pull it back down. And really what most guys are trying to do is they're trying to isolate it around just one limb. Like right now, like this scenario is if I had shot it, it went through one limb and it went over a second limb, and it's like, well, I just want it over the one. I don't want it over the second one. So what I would do is once it was on the ground, I would attach that second line just for insurance so that I could guide it to exactly where I want, and then I would pull it and pop it over. And the nice thing is now we are isolated over just this single union, or we're isolated over this union. Whatever you want, you basically have the maneuverability with two lines. Now, not everybody can afford to have two lines. Personally, I keep 3 lines on site every time. That's just from years of climbing, years of seeing lines get stuck. Like when you have a big job to get done, the last thing that you want is a small, cheap, $50 spool of throw line being the thing holding you back. So I highly recommend that you have 2 or 3, but not everyone does. And that is what brings me to the technique that I haven't seen anyone do. So when I was just getting started, I was poor. I did not have money to buy throw cubes. I was using hampers that I had, and I certainly didn't have multiple throw lines. So I had to come up with a solution to not get stuff stuck. And I only had a single line with which to do it. And so I have the same scenario set up here, but just on a single line. I'm going over the union that I do want, but it's also over this second line. It's like I overshot it. And I I see this union, it's a little tight for me. I'm kind of worried that if I were to try and pull it through that my throw bag would get stuck. Oh, yep, just did. So what I do is once that bag is on the ground, take it off, stow it in your pocket, go back to the side that goes to your hamper, your throw cube, whatever, and you'll tie an alpine butterfly. And now what we can do, also if you don't know how to tie an alpine butterfly, look it up. You can girth hitch with the alpine butterfly onto your line or onto your throw bag. And now we have the exact same scenario that we did with double bagging, where there are two lines, one on either side, which we can maneuver the throw bag with. And so now I can pull on the far side. Let's say it got stuck though. I would just pull back down with this side. But I can pull it up and pop it over that union and lower it. And now I am isolated around just the limb that I want. And I had control all the way. I was not worried about it getting stuck. And at this point, you can just take your throw bag off and undo your alpine butterfly and pull out the second section of rope of throw line that goes over that second union, and you're all good. You're rocking and rolling with just the one limb, and you didn't need two lines to do it. So we've got double bagging, which is really useful. We've got single bagging, which is really useful. And both are options to not get line stuck. The only caveat is with single bagging, you can only go half as high as you would be able to with double bagging. So with double bagging, you still have the full length of your line that you're working with. But with one line, it has to do the work of two lines. So if it were going up and over a union and then up and over another union, it's 4 times the length, where this was only half the length. So if I had 200 feet of line and I was double bagging, I would be able to go over a 100-foot union. If I was doing the single bagging technique, I would only be able to go over a 50-foot union if I had 200 feet of line, because once again, you multiply it by 4. So 4 times 50, 200. So whatever your length of line, make sure that you're accounting for the fact that it will be going up and over and then up and over another union. This is the only caveat though. Like with double bagging, you would want that. You need that second line if you're climbing big oaks, whatever. But this single bagging technique, I particularly use it all the time when I'm getting into a bunch of small trees. Like let's say that I'm pruning off of a house or something, and there's a bunch of trees around the house, and I just need to get it like 30 feet up. You can throw it wherever you want and then isolate back to the single limb that you like the best. So in review, hampers are a cheap throw cube option. Tie a bowline at the end of your line and then girth hitch every time your throw bag around it. I highly recommend owning 2 or 3 lines, and the double bagging technique is how you can isolate a single limb or just pull it back, get it to where you want it if you own 2 lines. And the single bagging technique with the alpine butterfly girth hitched around your throw bag on the side of your throw cube, that's the technique for people who don't own extra lines or who have already gotten a line stuck and you're down to your last line. You really don't want to lose it. So that's all things throw line from Nova Tree Care. I hope this is helpful to you.